All right, so recording has started. All right, so today we're going to be looking at subqueries and joins, right? We'll be looking at subqueries and joins. And these two are very, because of course you have seen that we created our data from, we created data models, and we want to be able to leverage these data models in fetching data from multiple tables at the same time, right? So that's where subqueries and joining comes into play, right? Subqueries meaning that we'll talk about each of them as we proceed. Subqueries, right? So we'll be starting with subqueries. Subquery is a very simple concept and it is very powerful. And we want to just learn how to use subqueries in SQL statements, right? So subquery basically is a query nested inside or within another query, right? A query nested within another query. We have subqueries inside, we have a query inside a query. That's what subquery is all about, right? Subquery inside a query. That's basically what subquery is about. Right? So when we talk about subquery, right? Subquery basically is having a query inside a query, right? So who can tell me what a query is before we move on? Who can tell me what a query is? Anybody? Hello, anybody?
I think a query is the question you're asking your data, the result you're trying to get from your data.
All right, so when we talk about a query is generated when you run an SQL statement, right? That's a query, right? A query is an SQL select statement. An SQL select statement is called a query, right? It's called a query. So queries are very important, right? And inside of a query, so take for example, right? So subquery, like I said, is having a query inside a query, right? So let's take away, let's just deal with all the definitions, right? Subquery basically is that you have in subquery, you have an outer query and the inner query. The inner query is known as subquery. Are you following me? So we have an outer query, we have an inner query. The inner query is known as subquery. Are you following? Right. So let's get right into it. Right. So if we say that our business case now, right? What generates a report of those who earn the same salary as Abel, right? Generate a report of those who earn the same salary as Abel. Are you following me? Right? So basically, what that means is that if you understand how to run SQL statements, you'll discover that in that statement, there are about two different questions inside of it. Who can try? Who can try? Who can tell me what they think about that statement that we have there? Anybody? Before we move. Anybody? Our code this afternoon, this evening. Yes, talk to me.
I think you have to get Abel's salary and then
Exactly.
run a query also to now get similar salary to his Abel's own.
All right, which is really perfect. Right, thank you. All right, so basically, the first question would be that to answer this question, right? The first question would be what is Abel's salary? Because it is when you know Abel's salary that you can what get those who earn the same salary as Abel. Right. So the second question would now be who are those who earn same salary as Abel? Right. What does that mean? It means that if you look at this statement very well, the second query consumes the result of the first query. What that means is that the second query, the second query will not run if you do not have an answer to the first query. I'll say that again. The second query consumes the result of the first query. The first query is to return the salary of Abel. The second query will not consume that result to be able to generate its own report. So basically, we use subquery when we are asking questions that actually have an underlying question, right? We're generating reports that needs further probing into the data, right? That's when we use subquery. So subquery, let's look at this. Let's solve this so that you understand what subquery is. So question would be that what is so the first question is what is, let's answer that now, just under it. Select first name. I hope it's first name, first underscore name, right? I mean select salary from employees where first name is equals Abel, right? So if we run this, unknown column colors, hold on. All right, so it is not first name. So let's go to last name. I think it's last name. All right, so we're trying to get what Abel's salary is. Right, so Abel's salary is 11,000. Abel's salary is 11,000. I hope we're following me, please. Abel's salary is 11,000. Right, so we now know what Abel's salary is. So therefore, what does that mean? To answer the next question, what do we say? We say select all from, all right, let's just say select employee underscore ID first underscore name last underscore name, right? From employees where salary equals 11,000, right? So if you look at it, the first statement, right? The first statement of that question is that what is salary? What is Abel's salary? So we know that Abel's salary is what is 11,000. But if you look at the actual question, the actual business case is saying generate a report of those who earn the same salary as Abel. So now that we know that we have determined Abel's salary, then we can now say that we should generate all those who receive the same salary as Abel. That is where salary equals what? 11,000. So if we run this now, what do we have? We have this set of people. Can you see Ellen Abel itself is included? So we have 3 people earning 11,000, right? That is the breakdown of the question. But how do we solve these with subquery? Right? Solving this with subquery, right? We want to solve that with subquery. What I'm going to say is that I'm going to say select copy, right? There's no need to select employee ID, first name, last name, right? Let me put salary so that the result looks a bit different, right? Select first name, last name, salary from employees, where salary is equals to, now this equals to, I'm going to remove the 11 and I'm going to go to the first statement that I ran, right? Which is select, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that here in a bracket, right? So I'm going to say paste, select, close that bracket. Right now, this is what we call a subquery. You can see the 2 queries in a single query. The 2 queries now inside a single query. Right, a single query inside is 2 queries or 2 business cases inside 1 query. Right, you can see the subquery. So this query would return 11,000, which we know that we already saw that that's what it's going to return, right? And that 11,000 is going to be consumed by this outer query. So this is your inner query, which is also known as a query, as the subquery, and this is the outer query. All right. So if we run this now, what do we have? You'll see that it will give us that. Are you following me? Right. So subqueries are used to answer, right, questions that we know very little about, right? That is what we use subqueries for, right? That's what we use subqueries for, right? So take, for example, you want to know what are the staffs, right, who work in a particular office in a particular region, all right? We want to know, let's look at the locations table. We say select from locations. I want to make sure I understand the locations table. Select all from, right? So we run this. All right. So say I want to know I want to know those who work from, all right. So let's say the business case would be, I hope you're following me. If you understand this, please let me know. Generate a report of those who are in the same, who work from the same location as let me think about it well so that we don't complicate it. Right? Who works in the same location as oh, hold on. Who work in the same, generate a report of those who work in the same department as Lynn. Right? Good. Right? We want to know those who work in the same department as Eileen, right? We want to know those who work in the same department as Eileen. So what does that mean? What would I do? Who can interpret this for us? using the logic that I used earlier? Anybody? Anybody? If you can interpret this for us, we don't have much time. We want to be able to move as fast as possible. All right. I see somebody raising their hand there. Who is that? Ebube, please go ahead.
We'll do select, then the location. Select name, first name or last name.
Okay.
From the employees where the location is equal to, then the query that will not be inside is select the location where employee's name is equal to Ellen.
Okay, so you are not looking at the question very well. Look at the question. Say generate a report of those who work in the same department as Ellen.
Okay,
right?
the same department.
Generate a report. Yes. So question will be that the first question there, don't worry, let me explain it right. The first question there is, what's the first question now? The first question is, what is Ellen's department, right? Now, when you know what Ellen's department is, then what's the second question, right? The second question is now those who are exactly those who are those in the same department as Ellen, right? So how do we solve this with subquery? We're going to say select, right? Employee ID. First underscore name. Last underscore name. Job underscore ID from employees where department equals department underscore, sorry, ID equals select department underscore ID from employees where first name equals Ellen, right? So this, now remember, your subquery should always be in a bracket. Your subquery should always be in a bracket. So basically, we're saying what is Ellen's, this inner query is saying that what is Ellen's what? Ellen's department, right? Whatever that department is now what we'll now be able to use that as a what? A restriction for those who are in the same department as Ellen, right? So we run this now, what do you have? Right? You see that these are the people who are in the same department as Ellen. There are 34 of them who are in the same department as Ellen. Any question? Any question?
Sir, instead of doing this, can't we just find Ellen's department and then use, instead of bracket, use where department ID is? We will not put the number.
Yes, it's the same way, but that would be a beginner level SQL code, right? What you're doing is that you are running two codes to what you'll be running two SQL statements to answer that question. That's why I use that first question, second question analogy, right? You'll be using two SQL statements to run something that you can run as one single SQL statement. What does that help you to do? It means that if you run them as one, you're not going to be consuming enough. You're not going to be consuming much query, right? You're not going to be consuming much space as well, and you are not going to be weighing down the database, right? So, subquery is an enhanced way to answer some business cases, especially business cases that has to do with finding out the particular data before you have to answer the main question, right? So subquery is very, very awesome. Subquery is very awesome. Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
So you can write another business case. Let's try one or two more business cases before we move away from subquery, right? If you want to say, who are those, generate a report of those who earn more than the I think this should be an assignment for us. Yep, that's your assignment. First assignment, everyone. Right, assignment. First assignment.
Please do it for us.
Eh? First assignment, assignment 1 for this week. So, can't hear you. You're breaking off. I can't hear you.
Continue, sir. Don't worry, sir.
All right. Generate a report of those who earn more than the average salary. Who earn more than the average salary. Generate a report of those who earn more than the average salary, right? Generate a report of those generate a report of those who earn perfect. Generate a report of those who earn more than the minimum and maximum salary of the minimum and maximum salary of department of staffs department 30. All right, so let's use that one to hold body as we proceed, right? So basically, these things are easy, right? I've given you the clue to it, right? So you can solve these questions, right? You can solve these questions, right? So all right, so that's basically subquery, right? That's basically subquery. That's basically subquery. Any question? Please let me know if you understood that. Let me know. Let me know before we move on to join. Joins is a bit more voluminous than subquery, so we need to start joins ASAP. If you understood what we explained, please can I see a show of hands? If you understood what I explained, can I see a show of hands? Let's go, let's go. I hope people can hear me. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. If you understood what I explained, can I see a show of hands? 2 people. I know more people understand, so more hands.
No.
More hands, more hands. Only 4 people. Yola, Chukwuebuka, Moyo, Madam Laide, Madam Odua.
I did not understand you.
Ah, okay. All right. Those who understand, drop your hands. Those who do not understand, can I see your hands? I need to know those who do not understand. So Alaja does not understand. Who else does not understand? All right, 3 people. All right, what part of it don't you understand? Let me know. 4. All right, I'm listening.
I think it's that number 2 assignment question. I don't understand how to solve it.
Is it the assignment you don't understand or the concept itself?
I understand the concept of getting everybody that has the same, that is in the same department as that person, but I don't know how to get range of values.
If you go back to the class where we talked about aggregate functions, you will know how to solve that question.
Okay.
Right? Look at the code, it is there. Any other question? Any other question? Alaja, what part don't you understand so that we can move on?
But the part of where you are, a kind of joining or whatsoever.
Joining. All right, so I'm going to go through it once again using this example. So it's generate a report of those who generate a report of those who work in the same department as Ellen. So if they ask you to go and bring the people who work in, so your boss just calls you and say, Alaja, come, can I see you? Please get me all those who work in the same department as Ellen. What are you going to do? The first question you want to ask yourself is, what is Ellen's department? It is when you know Ellen's department that you are able to know the people who work or be able to fetch the people who work in the same department as Ellen. So the first question is that what is Ellen's department, right? And we know that we can use a query statement to get that. So basically, it is subquery is just the same way you've been answering questions, right? You can say what is Ellen's department. Then who are those who now are in Ellie's department? Because once you know Ellie's department, then you can know those who are in Ellie's department. The subquery part is now that you are now, instead of running 2 statements, you are running just 1 single statement, such that in the where clause, right, of your of the first query, which is select employee ID, first name, last name, job ID from employees where department ID equals. Now, this part of the query, right, caters for the second question. Who are those in the same department as Ellen? But the question is, we don't know yet. How do we know? We know that if we select department ID from employees where first name equals Ellen, we will get a department. And then we can now supply that result to the main query, which will give us those who are now in the same department as Ellen. Are you following me? So basically, like we did earlier in the first question, where I answered the two questions. Can you see? You said what? Generate a report of those who earn the same salary as what? Abel. The first question is, what is Abel's salary? So we found out that Abel's salary is gotten from select salary from employees where last name equals Abel, right? That's the first question. Then the second question is now that we know that Abel's salary, this result gave us what? Gave us 11,000, right? Now that we know that Abel's salary is 11,000, we can now say select employee ID, first name, last name, from employees where salary equals 11,000. But instead of writing two statements, right, we can combine the two together in a single statement, which is using subquery, right, such that we say select department ID, first name, last name, salary from employees where salary equals select salary from employees where last name equals Abel. So basically, it is not anything special except the fact that you are putting a where clause. I mean, you are putting your subquery in the where clause. That's basically what it is. Makes sense. Does that make sense now? Any other question, please? Can I move on? Hello, hello, hello. Alaja. She's not there. All right. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So the next thing we want to talk about, so that's basically subquery. Subquery is not add, right? Subquery is not add. As you continue, you learn how to use subqueries in other parts of your select statement. You can use a subquery in the from clause, right? I don't want to complicate it, overcomplicate the class. That's why I'm not discussing how to use subquery in the from clause. But you can say you can use a subquery in the from clause, right? You can use a subquery in the from clause. Don't worry, you would get to understand that as you proceed, right? You get to understand that as you proceed. Right. So the next thing we want to talk about, remember that when we started talking about select statement, we said SQL select statement can do three things. It can do projection, it can do selection, and it can do joining, right? Joining is very important, right? Joining is very important because you remember that when we created the database, right? We created this database, or anytime we're creating a database, this database or these tables are linked together through what? Through constraints, such that which establishes the relationship between the tables. And when we say that what you create a model, right? What you're basically saying is that your tables are related and you have linked your tables together. Now we want to leverage on that information. We want to leverage on that model. We want to leverage on that relationship, on relationships that exist between tables, right? To be able to fetch more detailed results in terms of our query results, more detailed query results. You want to be able to fetch more query results. So take, for example, right? So joining, want to talk about joining. Let's take, for example, say I have a business case that says generate a what's that word now? Generate a robust information about employees, right? If I say select all, from employees, I hope everybody is listening. Right? If I say select all from employees, the question will be that, did he give me all the necessary information that I need to know about, right? Is this all that I need to know about the employees, right? So now I know that, okay, I know the first name, I know the last name, I know the phone number, the email address, phone number, hire date, job ID, salary. Awesome. I even know completion percentage. But what I do not know is who is this person's manager and which department is this person. I don't know the location where that person is working from. I don't know the city where the person is working from. I don't know the name of his department, right? So it means that I need to, if I want to know more about this person, I don't know the region where this person is working from. So how do I make sure that I generate a robust information, right, from my database? Therefore, what answers that for us is joining. Are you following? Right? Is joining. So joining is very, very essential, right? It's very essential to the things that we do as data analysts. Joining is very essential to the things that we do as data analysts. I hope you are following me. Please let me know if you understood that introduction to joining, SQL joining. Hello. Today we're seeing a bit cold. What's happening? Are we tired?
Understand, sir.
All right. All right. So we want to talk about joining, right? So basically, joining basically means that your tables have been linked together, right? And of course, that is what we have in the relational database, right? So relational database consists of multiple related tables linking together using what common columns, right? And our linked, of course, we link them through the foreign key column. That's why it is very essential for you to know how to create your primary keys and use your primary keys to link your tables, of course. In that process, the primary key becomes foreign key. So when you know how to link your tables together, you're able to write much more robust and in-depth analysis from your data, right? So it is very, 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 very important. So joining basically is your ability to be able to leverage on foreign keys that you have used to join your tables together to fetch more robust results from your data, right? These results are coming from multiple tables. So you are querying multiple tables at the same time. That's basically what it means, right? There are 4 types of joining, right, in SQL. There are basically 4 types of joining in SQL, right? We have what we call the inner join. I'm trying to create a note that we can use established by foreign key. All right, so that is basically the explanation for joining, right? So we said joining, so I'm just going to remove this. Let's go back. There are 4 types of joining, join. Right? We have what we call 1. We have the inner join. 2, we have outer join. We have the inner join, we have the outer join. Then we have self join. Self join. And lastly, we have the cross join. Right? So these are the 4 types of joining that we have in MySQL or in SQL, sorry. Right? We have the inner join, we have the outer join, we have the self join, and we have the cross join. So we're going to be picking them one after the other, right? The inner join. Right. So to make joining easy, right? Let's think about joining as marriage, right? Are you following me, right? Think about joining as what? As marriage. Now, we want to join two people together, right? And we're Nigerians. We want to join two people together. How is it easy for us to join two people together? It's easier when both of them are from the same tribe. True of us. Both of them are from the same tribe. Both of them speak the same language. They have the same culture, right? They even have the same faith, right? They even have the same faith, right? So basically, it means that in that situation, we don't have to convince too much the mother-in-law or the mother-in-laws or the father-in-laws, the bride mother or the groom mother. We don't have to. There is a easy synchronization between the two parties at that point, because why? All the requirements that is needed for that marriage, right, is what is seamless, and it synchronizes between the two of them. Same language, same culture, same faith, right? And it's the same thing when you say you are doing an inner join. When we are joining two tables together, two or more tables together through inner join, basically what we are saying is that these tables, right, can what? They can join themselves together based on a certain condition. Are you following me? We are joining two tables together based on what? Based on a certain condition. Let's look at an example. Let's look at an example, right? So when you say you do an inner join is basically done when there is a common column between the tables, right? So take, for example, let's run proper business cases now, right? So I'm just going to remove this now, all right? It says generate the generates a report of employees' details, including the name of their department, right? So if we say, how do we answer this? So in this situation now, if we say select all from employees, right? This result does not cover for what? For the name of the department or the department's name. Why? The name of the department belongs to another table. Let's look at it. Department's name belongs to another table. Can you see? Department ID, department name. Right? Before we do that, let's go into our AR diagram to see what we have there. If you do not understand the relationship among your table, you will not be able to join them together perfectly, right? So it's very, very important to understand the relationships between your tables and be able to leverage such information to create your queries, right? So let's reverse engineer this to look at the relationship between or the model of the employee table or the HR schema. All right, so I've taught us how to do this, so we're just going to continue. Right, so we're using HR this time around. So the HR schema, I want to see how the tables are connected to each other. We'll say next, right? We'll say execute, finish, next, finish. Right, so here is the, where are you? Are you not sure? Hold on, I'm coming. Shut down since last class. All right, just permit me to close my to do a little bit and move back, come back to it. Right, so joining is very important. I hope you're following me. Right, joining is that we're leveraging on the relationships between our tables to generate a result, a query result, right? Let's see. Everything is back, should be back to normal now. All right, so let's go back to, let's use HR. All right, so HR is available now. So let's go to data, let's reverse engineer it. All right, database, reverse engineer, just follow the steps. Done. So we're talking about the HR schema. Next. This is creating the model. It's done. All right, so can you see? So this is our model. Let me drag all of these up. All right, so what do you see? You see a really a proper network of what? Of tables related to each other, right? You can see that the tables are related to each other, right? This is what we are leveraging on, right? This relationship is what we are leveraging on, such that we can now use that to answer the questions that says that generate a report of employees' details, including what? The names of their department, including the names of their department. If we come to that model that we created, if we come to that model, right, what do you see, right? You see that the department table is what contains the department name. Can you see? Department table contains the department name, but we are querying the employees table, right? And the employees table does not have the department name. So for us to be able to get to the department name, what do? We need to join these two tables together. How do we join them together, right? How do we join them together? We want to leverage on the relationship, right, that exists between the two tables, right? So you see that there is a relationship between, can you see when I put my cursor on it, can you see there's a relationship between the employee, the department ID on the department table and the employee ID, and the department ID on the department table. There's a relationship between the department ID on the department table and the department ID on the employee table, right? Having known that relationship, right, I can now come and answer my question here to say, okay, so since you want me to generate a report of employees' details, including their first name, right, let me just go up and copy a bit of all of that, right? So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come down here and edit this code, paste that. So you have employee ID, first name, last name, job ID, right? We have salary, and we have department underscore ID. Then we have department. Let's break it down, right? We have department underscore name, right? From now, remember that we're talking about inner join. We're talking about inner join. So basically, what does that mean? We're saying that we want to join two tables together, right? So we're going to say from employees, right? Join department. From employees, join department. From employees, join department. Now, when you're doing inner join, there are two things that we can use. We can use the on clause or the using clause, right? So join clause, let me indicate that. Inner join is established using either the on clause or the using clause, right? I'll explain it to you now, right? So we're saying that we'll select all of these, right? Of course, we know that this department ID, this department name is coming from the department table, right? It's coming from the department table. So we're saying join what? Employees joins department, right? The first thing I want to use is using department underscore ID. Department underscore ID is the column, right, common to both what tables. Is the column that both tables share. So I'm using that column, right, to join the tables together. So basically, let me use the marriage illustration again. So you want to get married. So you came to your parents to say, I want to get married, right? Or your parents have been pushing you, like they push in Nigeria to say, I'm going to get married now, go and get married. Then you're like, okay, that's fine. So you bring in somebody, right? You are a Yoruba person. So the person you brought in is an Hausa person, right? So your daddy is saying that, or let's even go with Yoruba. You are Yoruba, and the person you brought up is also Yoruba, right? So your father is now asking, where are you from? He's asking the young man where he's from, right? Or the young lady where he's from. And she said, well, I'm Yoruba, and I'm from so states in the Southwest, right? What does that mean? It means that you're saying that, okay, oh, that's nice. I can allow you marry this person on the premise that both of you are Yorubas. Are you following? That is what you have there. So you are saying that I am joining this table on the premise that the employee's department ID is equals to what? The department's department ID. Simple. Simple. Right? If you run this now, what happens? Can you see? So you can see that we are now able to fetch the department's name. This table, this is a query result that came from two tables. Right? It came from two tables. Are you following me? Right? It came from what? From two tables. Two tables. Are you following me? Please let me know if you're following me. Please let me know. Let me know if you're following me. Hello? Let me know if you're following me.
It's you, sir.
Yes, we are following. Sir.
All right. Right? So another way to do this, right, would be, so this is using what? Inner join with using. Right? And the next one, let me put the using in capital. The next one is what? Inner join with the on clause. With the on, right? With, on using clause, the on clause. Inner join with the on clause. So I'm going to same business case, right? But if I want to rewrite this business case, I would have to do this and say that I'd have to do this. Now, the on clause is a bit more complicated. Now, it's not complicated, is that the tables have to now have an alias, right? The tables have to have aliases. So I'm going to say employees M, right? That's the alias for the employees table, and department dep, right? So now I need to qualify to say that M, just follow me, M dot employee ID, M dot first name, M dot last name, M dot job ID, even M dot salary, right? I can now say depth dot department ID. Let's bring this. Right, I will say depth dot. Now, what does this notation mean? We're saying that the employee's ID is coming from what? From the M table. The M table is what? Is the employee's table. So we're saying that this column is coming from the employee's table. All the columns that has EMP in front of them, right, as what are coming from the employee's table. While all the columns that comes from the what that is coming from the depth table as what DEP that is coming from the department table as the DEP in front of them. So this is coming from this department ID is coming from the department table. These department name as well is coming from the department table. So in using the on clause is more clarifying, right? So we can now say that on, right? What am I using to join them? Look at it. Look at it. I'm using something very simple to join them, right? So I'm saying that on M dot department ID equals dep dot department underscore ID, right? That is your on clause. These two statements are the same, except that the way and manner which we write them is what is different, right? But at the moment, they'll perform the same task, right? They'll perform the same task. Let's show you. Can you see? Performs the same task, right? Performs the same task. So what you have here is that in the using clause, we are starting that that the column between, we are starting that the column between the employee table and department table that joins them together is the employee ID. So we are saying that in that situation, we know that they have the same name. That column has the same name and data type, right? So when you want to use the using clause, right, be sure that the column the linking column has the same name and data type on all the tables, right? That is how to use the using clause, right? So you look at it, they have the same name and the content inside of them, which is the data, which is controlled by the data type, is the same. That is why I'm saying that, oh, in that situation, this person is in Yoruba, that person is in Yoruba, they can even get married because why? They both understand their language, right? They are both Yoruba and they both understand their language. The husband will not have issues eating amala and eba, right? While the wife will not also have the issue eating the same, right? So it means that everything between them is perfect. So when you have a perfect situation amongst your table, right, where you have a column that specifically is like a duplicate, or is you have a column that's that is joining two tables together, such that that table, right, that column, sorry, that column, you have columns between two tables that you want to use to join them, and that column has they has the same name and the same data type in both tables, right? In that situation, it is an inner join, and you don't need to stress yourself. You can just use inner join with with the using clause, right? So we use the using when you have the same name, same data type. But when you are not sure of of either the name or the data type, all right? You are not sure. So you are just basically saying that, oh, in this situation, because you are able to speak Yoruba, all right, I'll allow you marry my daughter, right? That is the situation where you have the on clause. It's also an inner join, right? But in this situation, we're not totally certain. If, of course, we know that they might not even have the same name in this situation, and they might not have the same, but they might not have the same name, they must have the same data type, right? So that's why we are now qualifying to say that, okay, what are you bringing to the table that will make me join you to my daughter? What are you bringing to the table? Where are you from? Oh, you are from Kogi. What part of Kogi? Is it the Yoruba speaking Kogi, or the Hausa speaking Kogi, or the Igbo speaking Kogi? Right? So what that means is that you're now saying that, me, I'm Kogi, but I'm a Yoruba person. All right, so we are going to now begin to say that, okay, we would allow you marry because why? Even though you are what? You are not totally Yoruba, you are Kogi, but you understand Yoruba. So now what that means is that it's like you have a provisional, your admission is conditional. Are you following me? Right? So in that situation, what do you have? We have to qualify the name of each employee, the name of each column, right? So first of all, we qualify, we give the aliases to what to the tables. Employees is M and department is debt, right? In some situations, you have it as just employees is E and department is D, right? Just so that we can clarify very well. That's why I'm using M and what and D, right? Usually it's supposed to be E and what? E and D, right? And it can be anything. It can be anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be, but you just want to make sure that you are playing safe. Hence, that's why we're using what? That's why we're using the initial, the first three-letter words, or the first letters of each word of each table. So the alias here now is what is employees is now M, right? Department is now what? Is now debt, right? We're now saying that, okay, having said that, in the select list, we are sure that the employee ID is coming from the employees table. Hence, the reason why you have M dot what? M dot M ID. Basically, what that means is employees dot employees ID. Employees dot employee ID. Right? So you have employees dot first name, employees dot last name, employees dot employee dot job ID. Right? Employees dot job ID, employees dot salary. Then we now have what is coming from what? From the department table. When I say debt dot department ID and debt dot name. Right? If I want to know about the manager, I can add the manager to it because that table has what? The manager column. Are you following me? So now we're now saying that on what are we now using to join? It is conditional, right? Employees department ID is equals to department ID, right? That is joining using inner join, right? That is using inner join. So let me go over the conditions again. We use the inner join, the using clause of the inner join when we are certain about all that is what the columns that we're using to join the tables together, such that we know that they have the same name and they have the same data type. But in a situation where we don't know the name or we're not sure of what the name looks like or the name, they don't have the same name, right? But we can be sure that they have the same data type. Then what? Then we provide or we use what? We engage the null. We engage the null. We engage the on clause. We engage the on clause. Are we there? Do we understand?
Sorry, sir. When did you say
Please,
we engage the on clause?
I said we engage the on clause when we are not sure that the name of the tables of the columns are the same. When the name of the column, now you can use it in any time, right? You can use the on clause anytime, but we're saying that this is the condition to it, right? I can use the on clause the same way I use the using clause, right? Meaning that even when they have the same name and data type, I can use the on clause. But we're saying that when you are not sure of the names, right? When you are not sure of the names, when you want to be able to say that, okay, Yoruba Igbo is the same thing as Yoruba Igbo Yoruba. That's what basically what we're saying here. Basically, what we're saying is that I'm saying that although if you look at it, the two columns have the same department ID, but imagine that I have something like here, instead of department ID, I just have debt ID or depart ID, right? Basically, I'm saying that the depart ID column on the employees table is equals to the department ID column on the department table, right? So in some situations, you are saying that, of course, in this situation now, this situation is perfect, right? In some situations, right, you are saying that on ID on say E dot ID is equals to shipping dot order ID. Basically, what you are saying is that these two tables, these two columns, this column on this table, this is the table, this is the column, right? Is the same as what you have as order ID on this table, even though they don't have the same name, even though the name does not look alike. Even though the name does not look alike, the content is the same. That's basically what we're saying. So if the content is the same, we're not particular about joining them. Of course, we use the name of the column to join them, but it is the content that we're really, really particular about. So once the content is the same, right, even though the name might not be the same, you use your own clause. Make sense?
Mr. Chair.
Ebuka?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, talk to me.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
good. All good.
So are you saying that on that on clause, sir,
Yes. Yes.
sir,
Talk to me. Talk to me, Elijah. I can hear you. Elijah, talk to me. I can hear you.
hello, sir.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes, sir.
I can hear you. Continue.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Are you saying?
Okay.
Are you
Continue.
saying
Continue.
on that on clause? Can we say department dep dot department underscore ID equals to M plus M dot department underscore ID as well? As in, we can change it vice versa. Can we change
Yes,
it?
yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes. You can say
Can we change
depth
it vice
dot
versa?
depth dot yes, you can say on yes, on depth dot department.
I hope you get my question, sir.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to pinpoint to you. You can say depth dot department ID equals M dot
M dot
department.
department underscore ID too.
Yes, yes, you can say that.
Okay.
It doesn't
Okay,
matter how it doesn't matter. It's the same, right? You can say that.
Okay, sir.
Any other question? Any other question? That is inner join for you. Inner join for you. Right? That's inner join for you. Now let's talk about outer join. Outer join.
So I have a question.
Okay.
Must we use only 3 letters to represent the table that is coming from?
No, it can be just one letter. Like you
Okay.
have in this situation. Yeah. The alias
Hello,
is up to you. The alias is
okay.
up to you. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
I was about to ask the same question. For the last example you showed us where you did a shipping dot order. So does it mean that
Yes.
shipping is the ID alias name for that sentence?
I didn't get that.
You gave us one example the other time where you did
Yes. E dot ID equals shipping dot order ID.
yes, that shipping dot order. Does it mean that shipping is the alias because it's a long?
No,
It has
shipping
plenty
is the
letters.
name of the table, right? Shipping is the name of the table. I just used it directly. Remember that this emp dot employee ID, right? Are you following me?
Yes.
Hold on. What these guys mean, right? Let me show you what these guys mean. If you say, if I copy this, in the actual sense, what you are saying is employees dot employee ID. This is what you are saying. Right? This is basically what you are saying. Right?
Yes.
But because you don't want to, departments, this will be, so you can see that it's cumbersome. That's why we're using
Yes.
aliases.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So the alias just makes it shorter, so you can decide your alias by yourself.
Okay.
All right. Any other question before I move to outer join? Any other question? All right, so I'm going to move on. So we have the next one as outer join, right? Outer join. Basically, we use outer joins. We use outer joins when outer joins, let me just type it, are used when one of the tables do not have, when one of the tables, let me say this, when one of the tables have more data that is unmatched, right? Plenty English there, right? So we use outer joins when outer joins are used when one of the tables you are joining together have more data that is unmatched, right? Let me give you an example. Leave all those plenty English, right? Outer query is now outer join is now saying that, okay, I want to join two tables together. Are you following me? I want to join two tables together, right? But one of the table, right? The two tables match each other, right? The two tables, their data match each other. That is the columns that they carry. The columns I want to use to join them, right, matches each other to an extent, but one of them has an excess. How do we do this, right? Imagine that you have an organization, your organization, you just did a recruitment, right? You just did recruitment, right, of 1,000 people, right? So these 1,000 people, right, you trained them and you absorbed them into the company, right? And you absorb them into different departments. But out of this 1,000 people, you have placed 800 of 100 people left who do not have a department. So the question would be, how do you identify those who do not have a department? The other way around would be that you have staffs in your company, but because the company just got seed funding, right? You just raised the Series E. You are creating more departments, right? You are creating more departments in the organization, but you don't have enough staff to fill this department. But you have created the department. You have created all the departments already, but you don't have staff to fill it. So you are writing a query to know how many departments do we have that does not have an employee. So basically, this happens, we use the outer joins when we have two tables joining together and their data match to an extent that after a while, their data do not match anymore. Are you following me? Let's look at an example, right? Right? Before we look at an example, right? Outer join exists in two. There are two types of outer join, right? We have the left outer and the right outer join, right? So it's also known as left join or right join. Are you following me? It's also known as left join or right join. Right? So the outer there is left outer join. Or let's just call it left join and right join. In Oracle, we call it left outer join and right outer join. Right? So we just say left join and right what? And right join. Left join and right join. Right? So let's look at this example.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Let's see that. Good evening.
Hello, sir. I cannot see your screen. I can see what you wrote before, but I'm not seeing the one you are writing now.
Might be network. Just give it time. It will load in.
Okay, sir.
All right. So let's look at the business case. All right. So business case, like I just explained the other time. All right. Let's look at the business case. So for my business case, right? So generate a report of the department that, let's start with employees, of employees that do, please unmute yourself, that do not have a department. Right? We want to look at a list of generate a report of employees who do not have a department. Right? We want to look at employees who do not have what? A department. Right? If we say select all from employees, this only tells us the employees that have a department. Right? If you look at the department ID, let's go to department ID column. Right? You see that they all have what? Department. Right? They all have departments. But let us see if we really have employees who do not have departments. So what do? We're going to say select, let me use select list here. So I'm saying select employee ID, first name, last name. Let me remove job ID, salary, all of that, so that we can shorten that a little bit. All right. So we have department ID, right? From departments table, right? So we can say select first name, last name, blah, 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 from the departments table, and from the employees table, left join departments table using what? Department ID. Let's run this. What do you see? So we see all the employees, their first name, their last name, department, and what's department ID and department name. But let's look to the left, right? So you see that at the moment, all our employees have departments. There is no employee that did not have what? That did not have, that does not have a department, right? Let's twist the question a little bit, right? Let's say that we want to know departments that do not have employees. So I'm going to say right join. Hold on, let me undo that. Right, one thing you should know with SQL is that experience also matters. All right, let me copy this business case. All right, so generate a report of departments that do not have employees. Right, so left outside, left join means that what? My employee table is to the left, my department is to the right, right? Now, if I use right, I'm going to change this to right after right join, which means that my employee table is to the left, my department is to the right. So I'm particular about the excesses on the right. When you use the left, you are particular about the excesses to the left. Right? In the first situations, we do not have any excesses to the left. Right? We do not have any excesses to the left. If we want to have excesses, we'll just try it. Maybe we'll try it a bit very soon. Right? We'll just insert more data into that table to see. All right, well, let's try it with this one. You get it with this one, right? If I run this now, all right, let's go down. Right, can you see? Look at it. So you have all of these guys. Let's see if we can. All right, so we have all of these guys that have departments. Can you see? Let me zoom this up so that you can see. Right, so we have all these departments. Can you see? They all have departments. They have department ID and department name. Right. Remember that what we are looking for is departments that do not have employees. Right, departments that do not have employees. Right, so we're going down. We'll continue to go down. We'll continue to go down. You can see that. Then all of a sudden, after Steve King, right, we have more departments. Can you see? We have Treasury, Corporate Tax, Credit and Control, or Control and Credit, Shareholder, Services, Benefits, Manufacturing, Construction, Contracting, Operations, IT, NOC, FDEX, IT FDEX, Government Sales, Retail Sales, Recruiting, and Payroll. But there is no employee inside of them. Can you see that? By that, we're able to see the part on to the right side of the table. We're able to see where there is what excesses. But when we did it earlier to see the excesses on the left side, because there was nobody in the database that or on the employees table that does not have a department, we didn't see any excesses. That is the essence of right or left join. Are you following? Right? That is the essence of right or left join or right join. That is the essence of left join or right
Sorry,
join.
sir, there's actually somebody that doesn't have a department.
Huh?
There's somebody that doesn't have a department, like on the first question. There's somebody that doesn't have a department in the first question.
There is.
Yes.
Let's check. Left outer join this guy. And scroll down. Yes, good. Yes, thank you. I didn't see that. Right. Thank you. This is our excesses. Can you see? Let me do it this way. Yes, that's perfect. Yes, can you see? Let me throw her down. All right, good. Yes, Kimberly Grant does not have. Can you see? It is to the left because this is left outer, right? It is to the left. The employees table is to the left. The department table is to the right, right? So you can see that this is our excesses. Thank you, Ebuka, for that, right? Right. So you can see that this is our. So we have this person who does not have a department, right? And on the other hand, we're able to see what? We're able to see the people, the departments that do not have what? Employees. That's basically what's left outer join and right outer join does. Right? Now there is let me try. I'm not sure if full join. Yes, full join. Hold on, let me check. Let me check so that before I explain. Full join is the combination of both left and right outer join. Right? Is the combination of both left. So you want to see the excesses to the left and excesses to the right. Full join. The full join is not doing what I wanted to do. Full join is not doing what I wanted to do, right? So full join is supposed to return the excesses to the left and what's the excesses to the right, right? But it's not doing that here because it did not bring on any excess, right? But in Oracle SQL, right, it will bring you what's it will give you the excesses to the left and the excesses to the right. So I'm just going to remove that because it's not doing exactly what we require it to do, right? So basically that is right outer join. So left outer join, outer joins are used to declare the excesses on either side of the table, right? Or either side of your statement, right? Remember that you have two tables. You have your left table and your right table. In this situation here, your left table is employees table, right? How do I know? Look at it. So that, look at it. Can you see that it's to the left here? And this is to the right. It is to the left of the what? Of the join clause, right? And this is to the right of the join clause. Right? So it's the same thing that we have here, so that you don't think what's left am I talking about and what right. Can you see? Right? So if you want to, you can say from department joins employees. You can interchange that. Right. So that's basically what we're saying there. So when you say left join, right, it means that it will give you the excesses to the left And when you say right join, it gives you the XSS to the right. Makes sense? Do we understand that? Do we understand that? Please let me know if you understood that. Let me know if you understood that.
It's clear, sir.
Raise your hands, please. Awesome. Awesome. If you understood, please raise your hand. Yes, Madam Olaide, talk to me. Madam Olaide, talk to me. Okay. Oh, it's clear. Awesome. That's what you mean. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Right. I need more people. Madam, if it's clear to you, right? Let me know. Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand if it is clear to you, if you understand that concept. Right. Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you understand the concept. Please raise your hands. If you understand the concept, please raise your hands so that we can move on. We have covered almost everything that we were supposed to talk about this night, right? We've talked about subqueries. We've talked about explain joining again, right? We'll finish joining tonight. I'll do a revision on joining and subquery tomorrow. Then hopefully we'll look at Windows functions, right? We'll look at Windows functions tomorrow, right? And we'll put SQL to a stop, right? We'll have finished SQL by then. Yes, talk to me.
In the joining, the left and right join, does that mean that if there are 6 columns, it will now be 3-3?
No, it's not a 3-3 column, right? If you look at this situation now, how many columns do we have here? In our select list, we have 5 columns, right? But we're only bringing 2 columns out of the other table, which is the department table.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. Do you understand? So it can be just 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4. It doesn't have to be to be equal.
Okay. So, have you? I doubt you have taught us how to connect to a database. Like, let's say I'm here and I want to connect to a database in US.
In US.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, that's a very, very valid question that you have, right? This class is not set up for that, right? You can connect to, so basically, right, the reason why we will not be able to talk about that is that this class is not a database administrator class. It's a class of data analysts, right? So you don't need to know how to connect, right? Because when you work with organizations, right, what they just give you is that they give you a login to the infrastructures that you're going to be using, such that everything is connected already. Do you understand? It's like you logging into, it will be like you logging into your email. You don't have to configure anything. Do you understand?
Yes.
It will just be like your hand. So, and if anything has to be configured, right, it will be done for you, right? Or you would get a step-by-step process to how to get by, how to configure it yourself. So basically, that is more of the work of a database administrator, a network administrator, and a system administrator. It is not the work of a data analyst. Yours is that you know that there is a connection already to the database, or you want to by yourself, right, connect to the database, which you have already from here, right? So once you have, so basically what you would get will be something like this. Sorry, coming. What you have is something like this. So they'll give you what the shared connection, right? They'll give you the TCP protocol, the connection is using. They'll give you the IP address if it's an IP address, the port number, your username, and your password. That's all. So basically, it's not you are not the one configuring it, right? Don't let us overstretch that, right? You're not the one configuring it, right? All you just need to do is just consume the information they give you, and you're able to connect to the database. It's as simple as that. Well, your question is very valid. Thank you. All right, are we there? Are we good? Can I continue? Any other question before we continue? So we've been able to look at We've been able to look at what's called now. We've been able to look at subqueries. Remember, subqueries are used there are subqueries are situations when you want to answer a question before answering the main question, and the subquery would be inside what's the main query, right? The subquery is usually inside the main query, right? The subquery is evaluated first, right? I told you the subquery, when we're talking about subquery, the subquery is evaluated first. This is evaluated first. The result of this one is now what this main query will consume. So when subqueries are being evaluated, what happens? The subquery is what is being evaluated first. When we say evaluation, is what is being solved first, right? That query would solve first before the outer query is solved, because the outer query will be using the result of the inner query, right? So that's a subquery, and we have talked about what? We talked about joining. We talk about joining. Joining basically is now our situation, or is the process of having to return query results from multiple tables, leveraging the relationship established by the foreign key columns on your model, right? Let me add that to it. The foreign key columns on the model, right? Aha. Right. So that is what you have in joining. So joining basically is how we leverage on the essence of the foreign columns that we use to join the tables together to create a relationship across the table, to be able to fetch data from the table. And we said there are all types of joining. We have the inner join, we have the outer join, we have the self join, we have the cross join, right? I will talk about the self join tomorrow, because the self join, I know that we might be tired, so I'm just going to talk about that. Will be the first thing we'll talk about tomorrow before we move to any other thing we want to talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow we're wrapping up SQL, right? But let's talk about cross join. Cross join is truth be told, I've not seen cross join. I've not seen a reason why there's cross join or why you should do a cross join, right? I've not seen, right? But cross join basically, let me see. I think I have a. I don't want to do that. I don't want to use. Okay, so let's see if we can use these two tables to do cross join. This S and T table that we created last class, right? So cross join basically, let's talk about it, right? Even though I tried to skip because it really does not have. It really does not have a really important use, right? Right, is also known as a Cartesian product. I'll show you, right? And cross join is when it happens when you do not use a condition in joining your tables together. Let me show you, right? It's better to show you than to explain, right? So let me say, okay, that's a cross join, also known as Cartesian product. Right, Cartesian product, right? So let's see, use MTN. All right, right. So if I say, look at it. When you say you do a cross join, hold on. If I say, let's describe, okay, let me describe it. Let me just look at it from here. Columns, ID. Okay, so if I say select ID, name, and TID, right? That's from S table. Let's look at T table. What we have in T table is okay, so we say TID, then I say T underscore name, DOB, and T underscore code. Right. So if I say from S cross join T. All right. S dot, let's go, then we say T dot, S dot T. All right, look at the result. Look at the result. So if you look at the result, look at the results. Just pay attention to the result. I hope everybody can see the results, right? You would see that a cross-section product is an error, right? Really and truly, I don't know why they created it, right? Right, because it really does not make sense. A cross-section product is an error. Look at it. We have 101, 102, 103. Name Kenya, Congo, Kenya, Nigeria. ID is 141. Okay, let's start from 100. 100, 101, 102, 103, right? So we have Afghan, Kenya, Niger, Kenya, Congo, right? 2141. Look at the name. Ade. Look at the date of birth. The same thing, the same date of birth. Then if you look at it again, right? The same set of value, but this time around, Lanre. Then the same was date of birth. Then if you look at it here again, Emeka, right? Basically, what a causation product does is that it puts every single value, it's a repetition of values, right? It's like saying you are saying, I'm trying to see the best way to explain it. You are crossing the two tables together, right? You are crossing the two tables together. In terms of the employees table, right? Let's run a causation product so that you see for employees table. If I say, what you would have in terms of the employees table is that you would see that Lanre, Ade, Emeka, and all of that, they all appear in the countries, which is not supposed to be so. This is an error, right? Because if you say, look at it, if you say select all from, I don't want to overshoot it, right? Because it doesn't make sense, right? Select all from S, right? What do you have? Look at it. So look at it, right? You have Afghan, Niger, Kenya, and all that, right? So let's say select all from T. Right? So look at it. We have Ade, Lanre, Emeka, and all that, right? If they have a code, right, their TID, right? If you look at it, let's go back to this one. Right? Look at their TID. So basically, if you look at it, TID 2 is supposed to be, that's 2, right? That's Lanre. But now Lanre now appears in all of the 4 words, in all of the 4 TIDs. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Let's run that statement so that you see it again. Right? It's an error. You don't need to bother about it. I'm just showing you for showing you sake, right? If you look at it, Congo, Ade, Congo, look at it. Congo, Ade is in Congo. The same Congo, Lanre is there. The same Congo, Emeka is there. The same Congo, Jude is there. Right? Then you see Ade in Kenya. This is an error. You cannot be in the same name all the time, right? If you do a causation product, let me see if I can generate one for the employees table, right? If we say select employee underscore ID, first underscore name, last underscore name, department, from employees, cross join departments. Sorry, I'm using SSHR now. It's ambiguous. Okay, so let's say E and D. Right. So when you have when it gives you the error that your field list is ambiguous, it's basically telling you that it doesn't know where these tables are coming from. So you have to specify. So I'm saying E dot, it doesn't know where the columns are coming from. So E dot first name, E dot employee ID, E dot last name, then D dot this, D dot this, right? So we'll run this now. Right, look at it. You can see Stephen in all the departments. This is an example of a cross product. So you can see that Stephen is supposed to be in one single department. But now you can see Stephen King in all the departments. Right? Look at him in all the departments. In all of the departments. Then the same thing with what? Look at it. What you now have is 1,000 rows. Meanwhile, our data is not up to 1,000 rows. Look at Nina Kocha. Same thing in all the departments. Can you see? That's an error, right? Lex Dehan, all the departments. So you see your data multiplied over unnecessarily, right? So this is what we call a cross product, right? Or a Cartesian product. It is no, I don't know of any, maybe I don't know, but presently I don't know of any usefulness for cross products. So you don't need to bother about it. Right? It just happens when you do not put a join condition to your joining. That's what results to a Cartesian product or a cross join, right? So when you don't put a condition, right, you can see Alex Arnold in payroll in recruiting. So even all the departments that did not have department before now have people there. Remember that we didn't have anybody in treasury. Can you see? We didn't have anybody in NOC, right? All right. So all those corporate tax, all those departments that didn't have anybody now these staffs now are in all of them, right? So one single person is in all the departments. Everybody is in the same department. That's what it means now. That is what you call a cross product. That's what you call a cross product, right? So it is really, really unnecessary, right? It's really, really unnecessary. So basically, right, tomorrow, the reason why I'm skipping self-join is that self-join is a bit it's not technical, but it's not difficult, but it's a bit technical because you have to, self-join basically is you're joining a table to itself, right? When you join a table to itself, we say we perform self-join, joining a table to itself, right? So I want to teach that to a fresh mind tomorrow. That's why I'm not talking about it this night. Any question before we call it a day? If you have questions, now is the time to ask the questions. Tomorrow, we'll look at joining again. Then we'll look at Windows functions, right? We'll look at Windows functions and maybe triggers tomorrow, right? I'll do an extra. Maybe we'll talk about triggers tomorrow as well, right? If we have enough time, right? We'll talk about triggers tomorrow as well, right? So any questions? So tomorrow we'll wrap up SQL. During the week, right, you will get your SQL capstone project. That is your major project. Remember, what we've been doing is assignments. But during the week, right, now that we have finished SQL, right, remember I told you that for you to be able to qualify for a certificate, you have to do a project, right? So you do what we call a capstone project, right? The capstone project usually ties together everything that we have learned, right? And you create a project. This project is your project. You are able to show forth everywhere you go to that this is my project. I did this myself, right? So if you are creating your CV, you can add it to your CV and say that this is project. I developed a library database. I developed a blah 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 blah. So you're going to do a capstone project. Everybody will get their capstone project during the week. You get your capstone project during the week so that you can start working on them. And of course, I'll also share the links of how to install Power BI and so that we can start installation of Power BI against next class. Right now, Power BI, I need to sound a warning to you. Power BI requires a system that is fast. That is where my challenge is with Power BI. It's a very heavy application and it will drag your system, right? So it requires a system that is very fast. You can be sure that I'm using Apple today because one of the major reasons why I'm using Apple today is because Power BI, even though Power BI cannot run on Apple, right? I needed a fast system. And of course, I wanted to move away from Windows for a while. So I had to buy a bit of an high-end Mac system so that I can run Power BI conveniently. On my old system, it was hell, right? So Power BI is a very heavy application, right? I'll require that. I will advise that if you have, you should have about 8 gig RAM to run Power BI. Will it run on 4 gig RAM? Yes, it will run on 4 gig RAM, but trust me, it will stress you, right? It will stress you, trust me, right? But irrespective, right? We'll run it. We'll find a way to run it for everyone. We'll find a way to run it for everyone. So if you have questions from today's class, please ask before I stop the recording, so that we can go and rest early against tomorrow. So ask me if you have questions. If you have questions, the videos will be available. The video for this class will be available this night. I would share also the code with you so that you can go through it. Please go through it. Joining is very important. The topics that we discussed this are very, very, very important for your journey as a data analyst because you will be using them a lot. You'll be using them a lot. So I also share other resources with you. Maybe at the end of the whole program, I'll share other resources with you where you can practice SQL because it's very, very important, right? That you know, not just you attending the class and you doing everything, right? You also have to be able to practice afterwards. You continue like continuous practice, and trust me, there's several resources that handles that where you can practice your SQL. So please, I'll be sharing all those resources with you after also that we can use that. So please, if you have questions, right? If you understood all that we did today, or you understood it about 50%, 60%, right? Please just show your hands. Let me see for those who are with me. And yeah, awesome. If you have a good understanding of what we did today, right? Now, trust me, I've always told you, right? You might not be able to get everything in class. You might not be able to get everything in class, and that's why the classes are recorded. So please ensure that what you engage the recordings so that your understanding can be more fruitful, right? So I know if everybody came late today, right? Except for a few people, right? So and I know that I've been seeing people logging in and logging out of class. So what that means is that a whole lot of people need to engage the videos, right? I know that a lot of people did not attend the class fully, right? In and out. So please, if you are part of those, engage the class, engage the videos as soon as possible, and don't leave them to pile up. Already, if we look at it, already what you have is about 20 hours of SQL video, right? That is what we have already, because today is class 11, right? And we did at least the average of most of the classes about 2 hours class, right? So 2 hours multiplied by let's give a error due to parallax kind of plus or minus, right? So you have between 20 to 22 hours of video to watch. That is if you have not even started already. So that's why you're supposed to use your time during the week to watch the videos of each classes that we learned or that we did over the weekend to catch up. Right? So please engage them. It's important. It's very, very important. Right? I do not see some hands up, right? But I'm going to let it pass this time because I know that a whole lot of people. Madam Udo, do you understand all that we did tonight? Madam Susan. Sir. Oh, please go ahead.
I have a question. So I didn't really get that left and right join properly.
Okay. Left join and right join.
Yes, sir.
All right. So go over it again, right? We said that, see, left join, outer joins basically from the word outer. You are saying that. Okay, let me use the old marriage situation that I was using, or example that I was using earlier, right? You know that sometimes you are saying that two people wants to get married, but they are both Igbos, right? They are both Igbos, right? but you discover that one of them, so two people that are Igbos want to get married, right? They are both Igbos until when one of them discovered that the mother-in-law is Yoruba, even though the father is Igbo. Are you following? User Lady A wants to marry Lady B. Lady A wants to marry Mr. B, right? They are both Igbos because their father are both Igbos. So by origin, by state of origin, they are Igbos. But Mr. A's mom is Yoruba or Hausa, whichever one, right? So what it means is that they are both going to be in sync until when Mr. A starts speaking Yoruba, because he understands Yoruba just because his mother is Igbo. I mean, his mother is Yoruba. So they are going to be in sync, so which means that when they eat apple, they both will eat apple. When they both speak Igbo, they will both understand each other. When they both, what does Igbos do again? Right? You know the Igbo cultures, right? When it has to do with Igbo culture, they will be in sync. But Mr. A now has an excess. The excess is that this nigga can eat amala. This brother can speak Yoruba. This brother eats pepper. Are you following me? That's now his excesses. So if you want to look at what are the excesses of this brother, right, you use the outer join to get the excesses. The part of the left or right now depends on what side of the statement that particular object falls. If the brother is on the right part of the left or right join, then you use what's right or left or right. So which means that if he is going to be here, then it is what? It is right. If it's going to be here, then it is left. I hope that analogy helps everybody. Are you following? So in this situation now, we are checking to see the employees that do not have departments. In this place, we are checking the departments that do not have employees, because the excesses, we are expecting the excesses to be on the left here. That's why we are saying left join. We are expecting the excesses to be on the left, and on this side, we are expecting the excesses to be on the right. Are you following? So, but one of them or both of them, in some cases, have excesses. That is what we use left join and right join to do. I hope that clarifies it.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Any other question before we call it a day? Any other question before we call it a day? All right. Please and please, I know that for those who do not get it, please or do not get it well, right? Of course, you can't get everything in class at the same time or at once. So please, once I finish this class, right, I'm going to be downloading and uploading. So please engage the classes. Thank you for coming. See you tomorrow. God bless you. Do have a wonderful night. Peace to Sudan. Peace to Ukraine and Russia. Peace to Nigeria. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.